I'm Andy Saunders. I'm the Global Head of Creative for Getty Images. That means that I oversee the content that we put in front of customers and sort of increasingly how we put it in front of customers. That's kind of new for me. My background is I was a photographer originally. So I guess that Uday's comment about nerds and lovies, that makes me a lovey. So yeah, hopefully, anyway, what I've got to talk about today is a little bit about the business. I think, my presentation is more about show than ask, I think. So I was interested to listen to Andrew's presentation. It's fascinating, especially the piece about marketing, I think, because obviously for us, those changes, mean that we have to create content that tells a different kind of story than it used to do in the past. So all these technology changes are really impacting us in very sort of big ways. So what I'm going to do is talk about who we are, who our customers are, what sort of challenges the business is going through, and hopefully there'll be some insights in there that you'll find useful and provoke some discussion later. So I've been with Getty Images for a long time now, as Uday says, since 1995, and it's grown from being a single brand business with a very narrow area of content, which was creative stills or transparencies. In actual fact, that's how we used to get our pictures to our customers. We used to put them in the post or on a motorbike, and we used to send them to our customers. That's changed, and so you can see here are some of the businesses that we've acquired over the years, and some of the new websites that we've created. They all sell digital content, whether that's stills, video, or music, and that ranges across editorial and creative, news, magazines, and what have you. We'll talk about that a bit more in a second. But essentially, I think I don't think it's that great that we have so many websites, but obviously whether that's partly strategic or partly through sort of acquisition strategy, that's kind of where we are. So yeah, we are essentially internet-based licensing business. I was interested in as what Will was saying earlier on. We'll talk a little bit about copyright later on, because I think that will be an issue for businesses trying to evolve on the internet. We have some pretty severe issues going on at the moment with copyright that we're trying to work out, sort of with and without the government's help. So talking a bit about our customer base. So we're the biggest company in the digital media space, and we have over 1 million customers. You can see there's a big wide range there. We license images for as much as $40,000 for a single image, if that's a buyout for worldwide advertising use. But also we sell pictures for as little as $1, and that could be through our subscription services. So you can see from the list, our customers are people who are using content in the advertising and publishing worlds, and who are creating communications online, in print, on TV, magazines and newspapers. We tend to split them into three groups when we talk about them, different segments. Firstly, agency, who would be obviously creative teams, account management, picture buyers. Corporates, obviously corporate businesses that have in-house creative departments that don't generally use ad agencies but come straight to us for creative consultation and image choice. And then media, who are basically publishers of offline and online materials, broadcasters, editors, producers, that kind of thing. So I suppose other similar businesses in our space would be businesses that handle photojournalism, such as Associated Press or Reuters. Then the traditional image licensing space, which would be Corbis, Shutterstock, who are one of the big new entries into the marketplace. very aggressive, and certainly given us something of a headache. And then the music licensing, such as Extreme Music or Audio Networks, that are a UK outfit. I suppose the other thing to mention is that we think of people like Google and Yahoo as peers as well, because of the way that you get content through those search engines. Obviously, if you don't have a good keywording or search structure to your business, then people aren't going to find the right products, in our case, the right pictures or images or music. So, so we sort of compare ourselves to those guys as well. So I suppose it must be apparent we sit right at the crossroads of technology and media, and that space is continually changing. So we're having to update, as everyone is, I guess, now with technology change, we have to update our business continually. So in terms of how we source our content and our contributors, we have something like about 150,000 contributors worldwide. And I recently, we were doing a project at work trying to have a look at our sort of regional spread. And turns out that of the 195 countries, I think it is, in the world, we have contributors in 180. So what that really does illustrate is how technology has brought image making out of the realm of the professional and has made it available to the masses, I suppose. So looking a bit closer at who our contributors are. So really the traditional professional photographers were the original sort of lifeblood of the stock industry. And, you know, the best of those guys still work very closely with us, with our internal creative teams, to produce our sort of pre-shot content. I suppose these are the guys who have been most affected by the changes in technology and the availability of new camera technology to amateurs. People who do travel photography, landscape photography, have kind of been consumed by the flickers, which we'll talk about in a second. So crowdsourced contributors, this is where you start going into that area of where technology has really made a big change. You know, the largest microstock company that we own, which is Microstock, is kind of, in terms of quality, is the strata below, I guess, traditional stock, or that's the way it's perceived anyway. And iStock has over 80,000 contributors and was founded on the idea of crowdsourcing, of pulling images in from amateur photographers, and then the business grew out of sharing those pictures, that community sharing those pictures. So that's a fascinating evolution in the industry. It really turned the industry on its head, and I guess we're glad we bought that one. So yeah, I mentioned Flickr. Flickr is the best example of a photo sharing site that we've worked with closely, and the reason why it's been really good for us is, if you can imagine that photographers are continually trying to create the right content for a marketplace, what tends to happen is that that sort of content tends to stagnate a little bit and starts to look very much the same. So what's been so good about Flickr is that that content is created without any sort of commercial end point in mind, and that lends it this kind of originality that we were not getting through our standard sort of traffic of stock imagery. So that's been a great bonus for us to have that one working with us. So essentially those guys are amateurs who are interested in making a bit of money, and it's great to see photographers, you know, in far-flung places like Singapore, India, non-traditional markets, earning a lot of money out of their content. And for some of those guys, it's actually been life-changing, which has been great to see. So obviously you have the editorial or news, sport, entertainment side of our business, and those contributors, a lot of them are staff photographers. And the way that they deliver their imagery to us is satellite technology, internet, obviously. And then we have a few large collections, archives of imagery. The biggest one of those is the Holton, which has over 20 million pictures, I think, currently. It has many more that we haven't even looked at yet. There are boxes of imagery from the 1880s, the 1860s that just are still sitting there, but the job of going through, opening them up, digitizing them, it's a big ask. So moving on to some of the challenges, I've talked a lot about technology and what impact that's had, and I thought a good way to sort of summarize the impact was to look at one of those segments that I mentioned earlier, that was agency. So I borrowed this slide from our marketing department, and I won't go through all the detail here, but this backs up a lot of what Andrew was saying. Essentially advertising is moving from print to digital, maybe not as fast as some people had predicted, but that's not a surprising trend. That means that campaigns require different types of content, as I mentioned earlier. More storytelling, more video being used. Broadcasting and commercials are much more about engagement with the audience, more about pulling them in than the bowling ball analogy, which is a perfect analogy. And because of those different... actually, you stole my thunder definitely on this bit. But because of those different media platforms, I think one of the big challenges for agencies now is that you have to have a higher level of consistency in what you're saying about the business, and your branding and your visual sort of approach has to have consistency, because it's appearing in all these different places. And it's not a sort of an intermittent message, it's always on in all those different places, and so there does need to be a lot more sort of continuity. So one of the other things that the marketing guys gave me with this slide, which essentially the conclusion would be that we have to create, there's a greater volume of work going out and shorter lead times, but there are some pretty amazing statistics in here about what happens online in 60 seconds. And I suppose some of the more interesting ones for our business would be 6,500 images added to Flickr, which equates to 9.5 million images a day, 1,500 blog posts a minute, 700,000 individual search queries, and 600 new video postings every day. The other one on here that made me laugh was 100 new LinkedIn accounts created every day, and I know that because they all end up in my inbox. So what does it mean for us? Well, means we have to evolve our products for sure to meet different kinds of needs these days, different ways of working, different ways that customers are having to work. We have to target new types of customers that we've never worked with before. And it means that we have to work to improve the ease with which customers can use our content and products. So the copyright issue, I'm not going to go into it massively here, but essentially, what we were finding with our photographers that were making, a good living in the 90s anyway, I think they were beginning to feel, that their work had lost its relevance, their earnings were going down, but, a lot of them started to find out that their work was appearing online, but they weren't getting asked for permission to use that content. So I know there are a lot of things going on at the moment, working with the government to try and work things out over copyright, but I think it is going to be a sort of a big issue going forward. And we're certainly making progress, but it's obviously, the intellectual property issue is going to be a big one. And I think it's an obstacle if you're a small business and you're creating that kind of product. Someone said earlier, where do you get the confidence from to invest in that if it's going to be ripped off? So I thought I'd just show you a couple of things that we've been working on to sort of face up to some of these changes. I talked a little bit about the variety of ways that we source imagery from our different areas of content. So that means currently we're ingesting imagery in different ways against all of those different points of entry. So one big project that we've got underway at the moment is to create this single ingestion path that everyone can use. And so not only will that make that faster and easier for our contributors, but it'll mean that it'll make it easier for us to edit that content, and it'll make it easier for us to place it in the right products. It gives us that flexibility. ThinkStock is our subscription platform. It's been with us for a couple of years now, and again, it's as a direct result of the new ways that customers want to buy pictures. They want to buy it in bulk rather than a la carte, one by one. So what ThinkStock allows customers to do, just like any subscription, is you can buy it monthly, you can buy it annually, and then the control on the number of downloads that they're allowed to do is effectively puts a cap on the pricing of the content. And then finally, we have a new project called Connect, which is our API. And for those of you who don't know what an API is, what that allows us to do is to, instead of customers coming to our website to choose pictures or to choose video and music, it means that we can deliver that content straight into their products, into their websites, so that their customers can then use that content, use our metadata, use our sort of search processes to source that content. There is a video here. I'm incredibly nervous about playing it because it's very corporate. It got under the radar, well, as far as I'm concerned. I'll play it anyway, so it gives you an idea about the different ways that we're having to adapt.
Welcome to Connect. Connect by Getty Images is a new way to bring our content and technology directly to your fingertips, providing more value to your business, your staff, and your customers. What is Connect? Connect is Getty Images API that bridges our amazing content, powerful search, and rich metadata directly into publishing tools, products, and services. Connect lets you seamlessly integrate our content and technology without leaving your website. Receive content dynamically, always refreshed and relevant with no hosting or storing costs. Fully customized, control, and scale based on your needs. How can you benefit? Elevate your products and services. Enhance your product features and create more engaging experiences that your customers will love and come back to through the access to our content. For example, Zazzle customers can choose from a robust library of images to customize their products. Streamline processes and costs. Save time and resources by integrating Connect directly inside your CMS, DAM, product, or service. Improve internal workflows. Optimize hosting and storing costs. And simplify content licensing rights. Embed our search functions to enable your customers or staff to search, sort, or filter results exactly like on gettyimages.com. For example, Huffington Post's editors can access and search Getty Images content directly from their publishing tool to enhance their daily articles. Auto-populate content galleries. Set up automated galleries with refreshed and relevant content based on the themes and topics you need. Access to our metadata. Use our rich metadata to access your desired content through an easy keyword search. You can also display any asset information from the simplest titles and captions to more detailed data. Connect makes your editor's job easier and can automate it. For example, Demand Media's contributors find the content they need to publish their articles at scale. Generate new revenue. Resell our content to your customers. Drive new revenue by integrating Connect into your existing e-commerce, advertising, and subscription offerings. For example, Weebly's users can search, embed, and buy our images directly from their website building tool. Start connecting today. Media publisher, print on demand, publishing, creative, or advertising service, startup or tech developer. Connect offers a strong cloud-based solution that adapts and grows with your needs. Visit our developer portal to learn more at api.gettyimages.com.
So, I mean, it's a fantastic product, I think, and it points the way to the future for supplying content to certain types of customers. So, yeah, that's just one of the things that we're doing. So, that's about it. I hope it's interesting anyway. I don't know if anybody's got any questions.
Yeah, that was very interesting, thank you. I guess monetization is always a question in a room like this, and it doesn't just mean getting people to pay, but actually fine-tuning that over time in relation to experience. So with such a volume of content, such a diversity of customers, how do you go about optimizing your pricing, for example?
Well, the way that we've tended to do it in the past is that we would stratify our pricing against the quality of the content. So, for instance, if you have content or imagery that is highly produced, does cost a lot to make, we try to place that in the higher tier of cost. iStock has a cleverer way of doing it. The website, through registration, the website understands where the customer's coming from, and then the search that's delivered to that customer is tailored towards the kind of pricing that they're used to. So that has a more sort of targeted way of doing it. But obviously it's really important to price things correctly, because if you're pricing highly produced material at a low price, people are not going to be able to reinvest in making more of that content. So that's a fast way to the bottom.
One more. Fascinating, Andrew. I was wondering, with the sort of the rise in photo sharing apps over the past couple of years, like Instagram being the big one, for me, where I see the sort of the next sort of growth industry is how you've got all these millions of people taking photos and videos with their smartphones. Is it going to be possible to live stream all that content in real time for their news broadcasters to plug in and access those videos and photos? So, for example, you could have the syncing of Costa Concordia. People could be taking photos, they instantly get sent to the cloud, and the news broadcasters are taking those photos 2-3 seconds after them being taken and using that as content. Is that something that you guys are working on, or do you see that as the future?
Yeah, it is. That's going to happen faster than you think. I mean, it's already happening in some ways. We had images from the Jubilee through Flickr. Through the Flickr contributors, we send out projects for them to work on, so we can gather content that way. So we have Flickr editorial, which is news content coming in through Flickr. So if you go to the website now, you'll see some of the content from the river pageant is from Flickr contributors. And of course, the phone is another step, down that sort of citizen journalist pathway. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're talking to those guys about working with them, and we have a project internally when we're looking at pulling that content and getting up on the website as soon as possible. The problem with that, or the challenge with that, is there's so much of it that you face the issue about keywording and search and how people can access that content. So you're pulling that much into the website. The search experience has to be it has to be livable for the people looking at it. So that's really the big challenge. I think the front end of it maybe not so tough.
And with that, would the business model still pretty much stay the same, distributed through your API platform?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've got a number of sort of mobile projects on the go at the moment. They're sort of bubbling in the background, and they'll be coming through over the next sort of few months, I think. But yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it's certainly an interesting one for those traditional news services to work out how they're going to either sort of bring that stuff in, or how they're going to react to it. So yeah, it's a good question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.